Hello and welcome to the Soulful Goddess Living Podcast. My name is Tyra Omilade, and I use ancient wisdom to educate and empower women to unlock the goddess within so they can liberate themselves from trauma and limiting beliefs while stepping into their power, aligning to their life purpose, and creating a goddess-centered lifestyle. It's all about you, goddess, and I am so happy that you are here today. Enjoy this latest episode of my podcast. Greetings, Goddess Body, Mind, Spirit community. This is Tyra Omilade, your goddess guru, your sister friend, and I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess-centered lifestyle. Today is installment 4 on my journey to the Sacred Feminine Priesthood series, and I am going to be talking about what it was like to initiate into the Sacred Feminine Mysteries. So yeah, I ended off with just kind of the last little bit of what led me to get on the path and just really commit, saying consciously, okay, yes, I am in. I don't know what this thing is that's calling me, but let me just answer the call. Let me see if this is going to work. And yeah, Sacred Feminine Mysteries Initiation is an amazing decision that I made. And so, you know, definitely had to kind of navigate the marriage and just making sure that me and my husband were good. I'm being 100. I wanted to stay married to my husband. I love my husband. I love the family that we have. I really didn't want it to end just because I had flipped the script on a brother, but it is what it is. And I mean, in a way, he flipped the script on me. He wasn't a preacher when I met him. So we're both just having this awakening right around the same time. Super interesting. So yeah, around this time, I'm 33 and I am initiating. And it was pretty much like, it was a little bit ahead of her time. She was like, okay, we met a little bit in person, but we mostly met over the phone. She was very much into teleconferencing before everybody was doing it. She had these modules that we would look at. And all of this would come to her as a download because she didn't try to come up with this. It was channeled to her. I think it was like over time, different times of awakening. And it was like something was calling her and she would see these other lifetimes and she would just at some point get this download and just start writing and typing or however she was recording it. And these became the modules that we went through. And it was very different back then because Ia was trying to figure it out. So my group, it took 3 years. And I never really think about this. It didn't really take us 3 years because Ia took, I think, a year off, if I remember correctly. She went on sabbatical for a year. So my initiation was on pause for a year. And so, but when we started out initially, it was awesome. We had these modules. There were several of us that lived in the same area. We would get together and we would meet and we would go through the modules together. There were all these books to read, just what we expect when we're on a program, except, like I said, it was ahead of her time. And there was something about Ia that was, I always call Ia very etheric. She's also very creative. And but it just seemed weird, some of the stuff she would talk about. And at that point, I was not Christian. I was just spiritual, but still, some of the things, and I don't exactly remember what it was, but I just remember thinking, he's a little bit weird. I just want to read the book. I want to answer the questions, all this touchy feely stuff. I'm not quite sure about what's going on, but I'm just going to go with it, And, I don't remember much, but Ia went on a year-long sabbatical, and I think she had some health challenges going on and trying to help these women initiate, and folks were acting up. She needed some time off to herself. And so when one of the things that happened before she came back was her mom died. For some reason, I had gotten to a place where I was just like, I'm done. Just as soon as Ia gets back, I'm going to let her know I'm withdrawing. And I had been like that for months. And then Ia's mom died. And I don't know, that just shifted something in me. And then when Ia came back, she was like, okay, I'm back. I'm new and improved. And, just we're going to have some boundaries. That's how I'll summarize it. Well, as she came back, those voices that I talked about in the last recording, I was like, I don't know why I keep hearing this voice, like, you better not quit. And it would just like jar me to the point where I was like, oh, I'm scared. Like, I'm not going to quit. Right. So Ia comes back and we continue. And it was all these different things she was trying, but I was staying the course. I was staying the course. And it's like this journey that we were on. And it was a journey into myself. Part of it was a journey to creating the lifestyle of a priestess. And I had remembered, even before I started the Sacred Feminine Mysteries, I had gotten a reading from Baba G one time, and he was like, hey, you're on the path to be the priestess. You just need to live like you're a priestess until that initiation actually happens. Just live like a priestess. And I was like, got it. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And I was like, what does that mean? So I don't know. I really did my best to live as a priestess before I was actually initiated. And that is something else that I think a lot of people who are called into the priesthood are like or do. We will be working to live that sacred, intentional, spiritual lifestyle before we actually initiate. Yet again, to a large extent, this is one of the reasons why I say we are born already a priest and a priestess. um, the initiation is just us consciously stepping onto that path and consciously stepping into the work, quite frankly. So, once I got into Sacred Feminine Mysteries, the initiation, I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, Ia would show us all these, just the way, things that we need to consider, how to live the life of a priestess. And that eventually became what is called the spiritual aspirant initiation. And I have my own version of that. It is not the same as what we did before, but it has the same mission. My spiritual aspirant initiation is designed to help any woman have a life where her life is sacred, have a life where she has a spiritual practice, and this practice helps her to step into her power. She has a self-care practice because self-care is a part of our spiritual work, and it helps to make us powerful and be able to manifest the life that we want. Every woman deserves that, right? So that's what the spiritual aspirant initiation is. But initially, that was the first part of the priestess initiation. And so then it's like all these meetings that we would have over the phone. And then we would go into the next phase. And then that phase was like a time where it was like, okay, we're starting to kind of look at, how am I going to be a priestess? Really tapping into our intuition and the tools of being a priestess. And that part was kind of fun. And Ia also, so much of what I have come to accept is the truth about how to live a sacred feminine life as well as a priestess life stems from my experience in working with Ia Oshinike and going through the Sacred Feminine Mysteries, because she really emphasized in that second part too the importance of taking care of yourself. I personally love that I got to go through this particular initiation. And so, we just keep making our progress until we get to the last phase. Now, the whole time, this is an aside, the whole time we're going through this, there's a lot of women who start and a lot of women who don't finish, because the initiatory path is not easy. If you're doing something for initiation, and I'm just being 100 with you, and it's easy, more than likely, that's not an initiation. Maybe you did the work long before that moment. All right. But in this day and age, you can buy anything and say, I've been initiated. I typically am about ease and flow. But one thing I will say is that initiation should not be easy. I'm not saying it has to be the hardest thing that you do, but to me, what is going to make you really tap the power within? It's not ease. We deserve ease and flow, but the path to tapping into the deeper mysteries of the universe, which lie within you, which lie within your womb, it requires a lot of bravery and courage. I am currently a trainer for Sistership Circle. And one of the things that Tanya, the CEO of this company, shares is this book called The Heroine's Journey. This has been the journey that makes the most sense to me when we're talking about the divine feminine. And in this particular case, when we're talking about initiation, because the heroine's journey does not go up a mountain to conquer anything. The heroine's journey takes you deep down into the darkness, deep down into the soul, deep down into the experiences that are challenging. And we are allowed to alchemize those experiences so that they become our power. So that is, and then we come back up out of that, not the same. When you go through initiation, when you come on the other side of it, you cannot be the same if it is truly an initiation. Life will initiate us. I just want you to think about that. You went through something hard, you came out on the other side better for it. It was hard, but you made it. A lot of times we might think about maybe somebody going to college or grad school, professional school, and it was a really hard time. They wouldn't give up. They had to dig deep to make it through, whatever the situation was. They make it to the other side. And it's like, here I am. I have this degree and I did this, and you're new and improved and you can go do even more. That is initiation. And it is windy. It will take you down into the depths. I've seen so many people come in and they really and truly do not have the life that they're supposed to have. They probably already know it. They come into initiation, marriage gone, job gone. Like I have seen it happen so many times. But then what comes in next is better. All right. If they are learning the lessons. 'Cause sometimes initiation is hard because it's hard to change. And we'll think, I want to do this. And then we get on that path and we're like, damn, this is harder than I thought it was gonna be. And I don't know if I want to do it. And so we'll be staying in the initiation, kind of waffling, and it'll feel harder, you know? But most people I've seen go through the initiation, there will be a time of great stress. Something is, it's just like hard. And then they come out on the other side and it's like a whole new world. They're not even the same person. Their life is not even the same. Right. So, yeah, it's no joke. I would say for me, the hardest part of initiation was being spiritually like I was, being married to somebody who is a preacher and his dad was a pastor at the time, living in his hometown. Um, yeah, that was the hardest part for me, just kind of like totally feeling like I have to stay underground with everything. I can't be truthful with people about where I stand spiritually. And yeah, so I just terrified that my marriage may be negatively impacted, meaning I may lose it. Um, yeah. Also, I did not want my children to be told bad things about me because of my spirituality. That was another thing. But also, I was raised up, in a home where there was a lot of traumatic events. I'll say it that way. And, you know, navigating that trauma, just really getting in touch with it, releasing it. I was just so depressed. I really stayed depressed for years. It wasn't until the pandemic when I got to just stay home and do some healing work that I got better. So 50. But I did do a lot of healing. I made a lot of progress in feeling better after my mom passed and everything with the initiation. So then we get to the last part of the initiation. Now, this is 3 years out at this point, and because it was 2000 November 2006 when I finished, and that last part was sort of difficult. It felt chaotic at times, but, initiation is about it's like it's shaking everything up, and once it shakes everything up, then it's like a mirror that breaks. You will never put that mirror back 100% to how it was. It just can't become what it was before. And so, when you get this shake up, it's kind of like, at the end of a labor when the mom is getting closer and closer to feeling like she wants to push that baby out. So from that pushing the baby out phase to from the door opening phase, which is the first part where all the pain is there, switching over to pushing the baby out, that switch is called transition. But it was more like, kind of like initially Braxton Hicks. And then after Braxton Hicks, it's like really and truly we starting to get into real labor here. Okay. Like this is labor. Door is opening. And so I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't remember a whole lot other than I was fully committed. And in my mind, that is one thing that is very important for the initiatory path. Put both feet on the path. I would have advised you never step onto that path if you're gonna have one foot on and one foot off. I think it's the worst thing you could potentially do. There's too many other spiritual processes out here that you could be doing that don't require the level of commitment to being a priestess. And so go do those. But when it's time to step onto this initiatory path, you just step onto it. And one of the things that was told to me that I believe is true is that you have to step onto this path without caring what the end result will look like. Or you have to step onto this path not knowing exactly what the actual journey is going to look like. It takes a very, very deep level of trust. And part of the way you stick with that is you keep both feet on the path. And yes, I would say initially, I felt like I had both feet on the path, but I don't know. I just wanted to quit within that first year. And well, really within the first 2 years, because it was sometime in that second year when Ia was on sabbatical that I was feeling like I wanted to quit. I think I kind of felt like I don't know if it's you know what? I did know it was working because there were these we would download all these little modules, all these little pages that I had in these notebooks. And it was like every time I read them, it seemed like life got better. And when I didn't read them, it seemed like life was more challenging. And I couldn't explain it other than, no, this is actually working. But for some reason, I just wanted to quit. But then once Ia came back, both feet on that path, I'm moving forward. I'm not looking right. I'm not looking left. I'm not saying this is the easiest thing that I've done, but I am going to get to the end and whatever I got to do to get there, I'm willing to do. And the way I see it is there we have these locks in our soul. And initiation will require you to unlock each lock. And you could even imagine that there's one lock on one door. And so it's like you unlock that lock, open the door, step through, there's going to be another door with a lock. And every time you unlock, you open that lock, that is an opening within you. Initiation requires you to unlock stuff within yourself. And so it's not easy, it's challenging, and it requires both feet to be firmly on that path. And when you get to the other side, you now have opened yourself up so that you can now start living fully, consciously with a mission as a priestess. And so, you know, being a priestess is not glamorous. It's not actually even a position of prestige. Being a priest is a position of prestige. But being a priestess, and as I see it, is not a position of prestige. People do not all the time respect. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody, but the priestesses get way less respect than the priest. Trust and believe me on that. There's not a structure like when we think about Catholic priests, when we think about pastors, imams, just all these masculine, babas, all these masculine figures. There's like these structures that have had them propped up where people respect them. But even they really and truly don't have, they may have respected positions that do really good work, but ultimately a priest, a priestess is somebody, a spiritual leader is somebody who's supposed to be in service to humanity. So to be a priestess, the question that you want to ask yourself is, am I willing to serve the great mother through serving humanity, even when it looks like the world is going to a hell in a handbasket, even when it's like, this is to a certain degree a thankless job. You have to be willing to see what being a priestess really is, and say, yes, that's what I was born to do. I was born to be here and be of service, even when I don't necessarily want to. Even when I have to be in service maybe to somebody who I don't want to be in service to. Even when the world is looking like it's on fire, and even you feel confused, but going back to the first recording I made, you don't come here to be like everybody else. You don't come here to talk like everybody else. You come here to channel the wisdom, the healing energy of the great mother. That you are her emissary in form, which I believe every woman is. But we priestesses have a special mission to consciously be connected to this energy of the great mother and to represent her energy, to channel her energy, to touch people with her energy. And we have to be willing to do that in a way where it will make us, to a certain degree, be a little bit alone. Um, because you have to take that time to really take care of yourself. You have to be quiet and listen. What is the great mother asking you to do? What are the ancient mothers instructing you to do? What oracle do you have to sit and spend hour after hour after hour to learn? Or what herbal healing remedies are you putting together, but you're having to sit down and take an herbal class and study for hour after hour after hour so that you understand how these herbs work, or whatever the energy healing modalities that you've learned. You have to go to training after training after training, because all of this ancient wisdom and technology is now being handed down, and it's in the form of, oh, I went and took this Reiki attunement. I went through this Reiki training. It's coming back. Those who are like me, astrologers. You are born to be an astrologer, but baby, you got to study to show thyself approved. Astrology is a science, and we might be able to catch it easily, but it is something that takes a long time. You have to study it, because if you are here as a priestess and your job is to provide wisdom for people using astrology, numerology is another one that I'll put with astrology, then you have to study it to the point where you can give accurate readings that will actually benefit the people who come to you. One thing I am so grateful for when it comes to my teachers is they were like, let me tell y'all something. We don't play with this. If you're going to be whatever it is that you have been called to be by the great mother, then you better be the best at it. You better go study. You better put in your intern hours, because that's something that we do. We do what is called seva. where you go and you be of service to somebody else. You better put in those hours, get those practical hours in. And then, baby, we calling you into the community because we need you to be, using it with the community here, the spiritual community. All right. So they installed in us. Don't be BSing with this. Don't show up halfway. We show up 100 all the way. And we have the lifestyle that supports it. And it makes you not watch TV or go do social things like other people. And I'm not saying that that's required, because you can most certainly watch TV. You can most certainly go play football, watch football or plays and whatever. You can most certainly do that. That's a part of what it means to be human. But there'll be a lot of times when you're not, because you are so busy working on what is it that I can do to serve humanity. And then let me get about doing that. So you really need to be ready. All this, and I'm kind of saying this because I don't know when I'll get to say it again, and I'm just on a roll. When you make that decision that you are consciously stepping on your path to be a priestess and you cross that threshold into the priesthood, then I don't want to hear I'm scared. No, get busy serving people with your gifts and talents. You will improve as you go. Perfection is not required. You will call into the people who need that version of yourself that you are today, right? You don't need to be, it's so easy because of social media to see all of these very powerful spiritual leaders, no matter what the tradition is, but they started just like you and me. They started with just saying, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just know I got to do it because I am in service to humanity. And so to me, that's a lot of what the initiation helps to prepare you for, is when it's time for you to share that gift. You're like, great mother, ain't nobody going to stop me from channeling your healing energy into the world. I am getting ready to do this. Okay. So that last little bit was really kind of like that last little bit of my initiation was really designed to help get me to make the crossover fully and just stand and just be like 100. I am a priestess of the sacred feminine mysteries. Um, so there was the part where it's like the final rites, and that was really intense. We all were together live and with Ia, and there was just one priestess that went before my group. She was there. And initiation, the other thing about it is you don't tell people what's going to happen. You can give them an idea of what we're going to cover. Like, we knew that there was going to be like 3 phases, and it kind of like helped us to understand her concept, cuz she very much is into healing from the inside out. And not just like knowing how to do rituals and, whatever stuff that people think is like super, well, it's super popular. I'll say it that way because it's all good. But for her, it was more of like, no, on the inside, this is what matters. We need to have a transformation on the inside and, doing all this healing work or whatever. Um, so we kind of got a concept of what it was about, but part of initiation is you can't fully know the path, period. So whether I remember what I remember or don't remember, you're gonna have to just get on that path. If you're gonna initiate with me, you'll just have to get on the path, and you'll know what's gonna happen once you get there. That's just part of it. So yeah, it was intense. And last little bit I'll share too is there's always a sacrifice that is required. Always a sacrifice. That's why I said if initiation is easy, then have you initiated? I'm just gonna say it. I'm a softie, and I like ease and flow. I know I've said that already, but I just have to repeat it. I love ease and flow. I don't feel like having all these hard times happening, baby. Need all that. But by the same token, Initiation can't happen without sacrifice. And baby, I'm initiated into an African tradition. And I'm sorry. No cow, no goat, nothing. Chicken, they don't need to die for me. What I need to do is to make the sacrifice myself. Now, I'm not going to talk about what my sacrifice is. You'll have to join my initiatory process for me to give you all those details. But a sacrifice is required. And then we were presented to the community at the Great Mother Celebration for that year. My husbands and sons did come. I reluctantly invited them. I wasn't going to invite anybody. And my godmother was like, "You need to invite your husband and your children." I was like, "Okay." Uh, it was so funny. My husband was like, "And you talk about Christians. Y'all are up in here. This basically like African church. What are you talking about?" I was like, "I know. I know." My godmother and especially my godfather really love and respect my husband, and it made him feel appreciated and respected. And that always touched me. So yeah. Anywho, so that is my initiatory. That's what I got about initiation. And the next little bit is just the life. What does it mean to be a priestess in this modern day world? Once I finished, what did I do? I think people want to know what is a priestess? What do priestesses do? So, yeah, I'll share a little bit more with you on that in the next recording. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you are able to see your story as I share my story about, yeah, this calling that you hear, or that you're just enjoying learning more about the life of a modern day priestess. All right. Thank you. Connect soon. Peace. Hey, Queen. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like this episode and hit that subscribe button so that you are notified of all my new releases. Also, be sure to follow me on YouTube and Instagram and download my Goddess Mini Toolkit, which has all the tools to support you right away in your goddess-centered lifestyle. You'll see all the details right there in the description box. Hey, you have a wonderful day. Be well, sister.